If you're a gambler, you've definitely had some bets go very, very wrong. The truth is that when we gamble, we never know what's actually going to happen, no matter what we think ahead of time. Every lock has a chance of losing. Every bet that's a long shot has a small chance of winning. We never know what's going to happen in the short term, but it's a guarantee that if you keep going back and placing bets, eventually you're going to get to the point where you're losing money. Welcome back to the One Day at a Time Gambling Addiction Podcast. My name is Rob. I'm a recovering compulsive gambler, and I made my last bet on November the 12th of 2022. Since then, I've made it my personal mission to come online and spread the message that you can recover from a gambling addiction if you want to, and you can do it faster than I did. So if that's of interest to you and you want to live a life without the chaos of gambling, smash that subscribe button. Or smash that subscribe button if you just want to learn more about gambling. So today, I'm going to be talking about my 3 worst bets that are in my memory as of right now. And there are 3 bets that are bad for different reasons. Some of them are bad beats, and then you're going to see kind of why one of them was just a really bad situation. But they're not in any particular order. These are just 3 bets that stick out in my mind as really frustrating experiences for me, and I'm sure that you'll be able to relate to some of what I say. So the first bet that I'm going to be talking about is one that I lost that I just had no business placing. Back in 2018, the Nuggets had a 19-point lead in the third quarter against the Clippers, and I bet my entire balance to try to make enough money to cover my dinner for that night. And I figured, hey, they're up 19. All I have to do is hold on to a 19-point lead in the second half. They're not going to blow that, right? And by the end of the game, they actually did blow that lead, as you can see with the scoreline here. So what I learned that day was there's no such thing as a lock. Anything can happen in the game, and it's almost completely random as to what's going to happen. The odds don't always reflect the truth. So when I made that bet, I figured it was a no-brainer. There was no reason not to take the bet because I thought it was free money, which is something that a lot of people seem to think sports betting is nowadays, especially when they have a knowledge base about sports or see a bet that they've convinced themselves has some form of value. But literally anything can happen. And of course, it was an irresponsible decision to put my entire balance in, which is something that's reflective of me being a gambling addict, I suppose. But there was no guarantee that that bet was ever going to win, as likely as it seemed that it would. So you just never quite know. The next bet that comes to mind is probably one that a lot of you had some action on, or at least you saw the game because the ending was pretty crazy. And it was when Dame Lillard hit that crazy half-court three-pointer over Paul George to send the Trailblazers through. And my recollection of that game was that I figured the Clippers were going to win it because they were a better team, so I had money on them. And of course, it ended up being tied right at the last second, and some crazy shot ended the game. And I figured, oh, I'm so down on my luck. Everything like this happens to me. All my bets seem to lose in some dramatic fashion like this. But honestly, there was just so many bets that things like that were just bound to happen and bound to make me lose eventually. When you're betting on sports and you're doing it all day, every day, you're going to have some bad beats. You're going to have some wins, but of course, you're going to have more losses in the end if you keep playing. Now, with a shot that crazy, I was just kicking myself and I was so upset because that shot should not have gone in. I'll play it right now just in case you've forgotten it. But whatever happens in sports happens, and that's why we have no business gambling on it in the long term. Whatever happens is completely random. Now, the third bet that I'm going to be talking about is one that was most frustrating for me. And it wasn't that it was like the craziest loss or the craziest game, but it's the way that I watched the game. So there's this app out there called SofaScore, and you can get score updates on tennis, basketball, soccer games. And when I was using the SofaScore app, I would be constantly swiping down and refreshing the app to see what the score of different tennis matches were. So I remember gambling on the world number 1 at the time was Emma Raducanu in women's tennis. And she had just come out and won the US Open out of nowhere. And then after that just fell off like crazy. But during the tournament that she was playing in Romania, I had gambled on her and she just lost very, very badly. And I'll put the score up here. But as she was playing, I was just constantly swiping down on the screen instead of watching the game just to see 15-0, 15-15, 30-15. And that's the kind of desperation that I was doing when I was gambling. I was working that day. I think I was driving pizza, honestly, that day. And I was just swiping down on the phone as I would come to red lights just to see what the score was. It's not a happy way to be living. My entire financial future at the time was based on little digits on a screen that I had no control over, just seeing if they would go up or down and be in my favor or not. When it turned out that it wasn't in my favor, it wasn't honestly that surprising. That's kind of just what's supposed to happen if you keep going back to it long enough. And of course, betting too much. Now, when you're a gambling addict, you'll hear people say things like bankroll management, unit sizes when it comes to sports betting. These things don't apply to us because if you're a gambling addict, you're not gambling logically. You're not gambling to make money, you're gambling to feel happiness. And it just doesn't function logically. So when someone will tell you, why did you go all in? Why did you bet that much? You don't really always have an answer. It was just that you were gambling that much to feel something. And that's why we have to stop, because there's no off switch for us, and money is just the fuel by which we continue to gamble. Now, I'm not going to make the argument that having bankroll management or unit sizes will make you profitable, because it won't. What it will do is make you lose your money more slowly over a longer period of time, because you're staying within specific financial constraints. Now, a lot of people will tell you that if you do all that, then you're going to make money, and that's just not true. You would still need a strategy that would beat the sportsbook, and if you had one, you would be banned, because the house always wins. They make the rules, and if you think that you have a chance of winning, you really don't. It's calculated behind the scenes to know that if you keep playing, you will lose, and they will make money off of you. So those are 3 of the bets that I was just thinking about off the top of my head that really gave me a hard time. And not only were they frustrating because of the amounts that I lost, but just because of the situations that I was putting myself in. A thing that I thought was a lock for no reason, just to pick up a couple extra dollars. A game that I had no business having so much money on ending in a dramatic fashion. And a tennis match that I was just watching on my phone without even seeing the actual match, just to try to get some extra money during the day. Why was I doing all this? I don't really even know, looking back. I was always just gambling because that's who I was. I spent my days placing bets, thinking about the next bet, thinking about where to get money to place the next bet, and then not even really staying in the moment to appreciate the bet that I had actually placed, because it was the disease of always wanting more. Not all of you are going to be a gambling addict that are watching this video, but if you are, you can relate that, you might get a win here and there, you might hit a big jackpot or a parlay, but it's not going to stop you. You're only thinking about what you can do with that money next. And if you're a gambling addict, it's not going to be to buy yourself anything. It's not going to be to invest it anywhere. It's going to be to put it right back into a machine, onto a game, or onto a table, so that you can try to win more money. And then eventually, you're going to get to the point where you do not win. So, if you've enjoyed what we talked about today, or you want to know more about the different games that I was placing bets on, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to answer more questions you might have, love to talk about specific bets that I had placed, and just kind of give you guys an idea of what I was doing when I was gambling, so that you might have a better understanding of why I'm so interested in helping other people to recover from this. If you enjoyed what we talked about today, please do share it with someone else and leave a like down below. I don't want to see people continue to make decisions that are bringing pain into their lives, because I did it for so long, and I know that there's no good reason to continue doing it. It's a habit that needs to be kicked, and the best way to do that is to check out the PDF down below in the description. It's filled with free resources for you to recover from a gambling addiction faster than I did. You can do this, you can get healthy, you can get happy, and it all happens one day at a time.